Hoopers, this is Jewelry Hoops, and this is my recap for the multi-mini hoop workshop. We started our workshop with an understanding of the 9 grid, which is that there is a space here in front of you that frames your face and your heart, a space below that, above that, out to the side, the other side, and each corner as well. And that 9 grid actually follows you everywhere. It exists at your sides too, with your center point, forward, back, top, bottom, and each of the corners. And understanding that that center space, we'll call that the center square of the 9 grid, has the 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock positions. And those hand positions are going to be the same for many different purposes, whether your hoop is inside that circle or if you're outside of it, because a linear isolation would be 3, 6, 9, 12, and back. So understanding that, we moved on to looking at the different types of isolations. We've got our inside isolation, our outside isolation. We also have our linear isolations, our vertical and horizontal. We have our diamond anti-spin pattern that we talked about, and we also have our square anti-spin pattern that we discussed. From there, we added a second hoop. We spent a lot of time working on the Ojo Grip, which looks like this, or this, or this. It's basically taking this Ojo Grip, where the hoop framing your face that's in front of you is actually positioned a little further out, if I can get real close up on that. That's the grip. In order to get into that grip, we discussed if the hoops are hanging at your side, if you raise the outer hoop, the one that's further away from you, just a little bit and pinch, rotate in and twist out, and they'll open up into the right position. The reason I consider this the right position is that if I do a switch and I miss, I don't lose my other hoop. It stays on my arm. So in that case, if we then take this hoop that's closer to my body and lift it up, pinch, twist in and out, I can still do ojos and switches, but one thing you'll notice is if I make a mistake, that hoop is gone. It leaves my hand and I end up running for it. So in a performance situation, I recommend always having the switching hoop kind of, if your arm were through it and you're gripping this just in your fingers and putting your thumb here, you're good. The next thing we covered are all the different positions that you can put your hoops in. If your hand is thumbs up, as you can see, thumbs up on my native side, not across my body, I can isolate the top half of the center hoop and I can anti-spin the bottom half. But if I go over, I can't isolate that any further, right? Now if I'm in a thumb down position, I can isolate the bottom half and I can anti-spin the top half. So how do we resolve this little catch? Well, we use the Ojo switch for that. So we isolate over the top, switch, and isolate the bottom, switch. Isolate the top, switch, isolate the bottom, switch. We can also do the same thing with our anti-spin. So we can drop and go over, switch, come up and back. We're back in our first position. Once we got really good at our Ojo switches, and one of them being isolate over the top, and as I switch, I'm going to pull my hand back to native side, like this, and that creates an isolation versus linear isolation. This being the isolation hoop, and this being the linear isolation hoop. We then added a third hoop to the mix. And one of the tricks that we learned with this is that the illusion created by switching which hand is holding the third hoop creates a lot of confusion for our viewers. So we can grab the hoop here and here, oops, and here and here. And by doing that, we can also use our space to do our anti-spin, bring this hoop over in front, and as I switch, I pull this back. So a little quicker, that looks like this. We also learned how to bring the hoops in like this, drop this hoop down and twist it as I do the switch. So all together, that looks like this. We worked with some grid tracing once we had 3 hoops. So remember, our grid has these 3 spaces, these 3 spaces, these 3 spaces, and these 3 spaces. Think of it like a tic-tac-toe board. So when we're dealing with these spaces, We can drop the hoop down and swing out. Remembering that the grid is all around us, we can fold, we can create these shapes. Just by playing around with those switches. We didn't get into juggling, but we did talk just for a moment about some body rolls you can do to the other hand and back. We talked for a little while with the two hoops about spinning the hoops on your hand, putting your palm face up, and when they split, you can start using your fingers to grip the hoop that's out in front, and the back of your hand pushes the hoop that's riding on the inside. Both hoops are between my thumb and forefinger here. I'll do that this direction so you can see. There we go. They stay inside my thumb. We also talked about things you can do when the hoop goes beyond your thumb. So where you're here, once they're split on your arm like this, you can switch direction with the outer hoop. You can fold the outer hoop. You can do a wrist roll with the outer hoop. So there's lots of different things you can do. And if you find that you're in a position where one is on your arm and it keeps riding up your arm, like this, if you raise your hand, it rides up. If you lower your hand, it comes back down. Bring it right next to your side and get it back in your thumb again. We talked about some rolling, and so this is a linear isolation. This is doing the isolation, this is doing the linear piece, and then an extension. Switch hands, linear isolation, so, and pull back. Let's see, we also grabbed our fourth hoop and started working with two sets. When we practice our switches, we practice them with both hands and in both directions so that we can eventually do quads. With that, you can, we talked for a minute about the grid tracing, right? So if we're here, we can slide our hoops to be in this position. We can rotate our hoops to be here. We can put them in the top corner. We can put them in the bottom corner. We can put them any which way we want for that grid. And when you start rotating and switching and placing in the grid, you end up with some cool patterns. With our split time spins on our hand, we talked a little bit about doing those with both hands. These are my propellers. And I believe I showed when you're already in split time spins, grabbing the outer hoop, folding it down. Sorry, I'll do that, try to do that in slow motion again. So we're split. I'm going to fold the hoop down and the other hoop goes into hand. So that's how you can switch between the two. With our quads, we made some various shapes where we can turn, switch. We can alternate turning and switching. We can rotate and slide. Then we use this technique where you stick your finger out, fold your hoops over the top so they're hanging on your finger, reach inside this hoop and grab them, and ocho them again. So with this, we're doing the same patterns with our isolate and our anti-spin. The hoops that are up here are glued to my wrist. They're just sitting here. There's a little distance between them. But this hoop, this set of hoops that my arm is through, stays static and just follows my wrist around as I'm doing the different shapes with the outer hoops. So that looks like this: isolate, switch, because that's thumbs up on my native side. We can anti-spin down, switch, anti-spin up and switch, and that's all without doing anything with this set of hoops in the back. The other thing we can do is if we start at our right side, we can rotate both of the hoops up to the top and then back down, together. So in that case, both sets of hoops are moving to create the illusion. We also talked about putting the hoops that our arm is through in this vertical 8 position, and the other hoops are in a horizontal 8. If we roll the whole thing over, and as we switch, we bring these hoops back to the top, we can create a rolling flower. So let me show that to you. We also talked about when your arm is through like this, you can spread your hands out a little bit, and now you're in this triple hoop mode, and you can split them down to do various shapes. In the single hoop portion of the workshop, we talked about some various geometric shapes that you can use the 9 grid for. So if you're going to do an anti-spin diamond, you're going to start with your hand at 6 o'clock in this center area where it's framing my heart and face. The hoop is down in the bottom center square though. So we're going to take this hoop and just push it to the left. We're going to open our grip and pull to the top, which is going to cause this hoop to swing through the center here before hitting top. So here we go left, top, we go right, we go bottom, and bring our hand back down into position, palm up. So left, top, right, down. I think it's super important to know these positions because that helps you slow down and control your anti-spin flowers, and you aren't just sort of randomly like, whoa, it's got a life of its own, right? So the other portion you can do is a square anti-spin. So if you start in your bottom right corner, go through the center to the bottom left corner, through the center to the top left corner, through the center to the top right corner, and through the center to the bottom right corner, you've now created a square. So think about what points you're hitting, and that'll help create various shapes. We also did a triquetra, and the thing that I explained is it can be difficult to picture a triangle inside the shape of a square, right, or a grid. But if we take our hoop from the bottom right corner, come through center to the bottom left corner, and then come through center straight up to the top, and bring it back through center to the bottom right, left, top, right, left, top, right. We have our triquetra. You can also do those upside down. So from this point, bottom center, I'm going to go straight up to top left, top right, back down to center, reset my hand. Top left, top right, center, reset. You can do these things together. So if your hoops are spinning same direction, that looks like this, right? The hoops are both spinning in the same direction. Or in this case, they're same direction. When they bounce at the same time, we call that same time. When they bounce on opposite schedules, that's split time. From the side, split time looks like this. Now, if we're going to do a diamond anti-spin, same time, opposite direction, we would come from top and bottom out to left, then go to top and bottom again, adjust your bottom hand. We're going to come out to the right at the same time and come back to bottom, second hand. So what that ends up looking like quickly is here, up, left, up. You can also do them opposite direction, same time. So what that looks like is from top and bottom, we're going to come opposite direction, and your arms have to come and twist around each other here, and then to get back to our original starting position, the hoop in my left hand is going to come down in front of the hoop in my right hand, which is going to swing up. So out, top and bottom, twist, untwist. Oops. I think that covers pretty much everything that we learned in class. So play around with your shapes, trace your grids, and work on your spins, your split time hand spins. Work on your ochos. Start them from upside down and switch. Start them from thumbs up and switch. And you'll get the hang of these things, and you'll be able to create some really great patterns. The last thing that I taught, which is a bit complicated, but I want to show it to you anyway. The pattern starts with an isolation over the top, drops down into anti-spin, and as I push up into anti-spin, the hoop on the top is going to roll over the back of my hand as I bring it back to center. So continuous Ocho anti-spins. I hope you enjoyed the workshop. I really enjoyed teaching you, and I thought you were a really great crowd, so thank you so much for having me up to Toronto. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget to go to Ruby Hooping for your hoops. If you want to make an arrangement for me to deliver it to Canada, just let me know. I have no problem doing that. My code is JILLERY, JILLERY at checkout. That'll save you 10% on your hoops, and they do have some great minis to choose from, taped and untaped, HDPE and Polypro. And you can also check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/jilleryhoops, my Facebook page, facebook.com/jilleryhoops, and my Instagram account, instagram.com/jilleryhoops. I've got a ton of tutorials available on pretty much every trick that I've shown here today, and those are available on my YouTube channel. Happy hooping!